Have you ever felt like you're praying to a wall? You pour out your heart, you beg for an answer, for a sign, for anything, and all you get back is silence. It's a lonely, scary feeling, right? Well, did you know that one of the most terrifying moments in the entire Bible isn't about fire from heaven or a great flood? It's about silence. God's silence. And it happened to a king. This is the story of King Saul, the first king of Israel. When he started, he was humble, chosen by God himself. But power has a way of changing people. Saul started making his own rules. He disobeyed God's direct commands, not just once, but repeatedly. He'd offer sacrifices he wasn't supposed to. He'd spare enemies he was told to defeat. And he'd let pride and jealousy, especially towards a young David, consume him. Each time, the prophet Samuel would warn him, telling him that obedience is better than sacrifice. But Saul just didn't seem to get it. He was sorry he got caught, not sorry he disobeyed. Then came the breaking point. The Philistine army, Israel's sworn enemy, gathered for war. Their forces were massive, a terrifying horde camped on the hillside, ready to crush Israel. Saul looked out at their army, and the Bible says his heart trembled with fear. He was completely outmatched and utterly terrified. In his desperation, he did what he should have done all along. He cried out to God. He prayed for guidance, for a strategy, for a word of hope. But this time, something was different. God did not answer him. The Bible is very specific about this. It says God didn't answer by dreams or by Urim or by prophets. The Urim and Thummim were sacred lots the high priest used to discern God's will. It was like the official direct line to God, and it was dead. The prophets, God's spokesman, had nothing to say, and his sleep brought no divine dreams, only nightmares of the coming battle. The heavens were brass. Imagine that. The king of God's chosen people, on the eve of a battle for their very survival, was met with complete and total divine silence. This silence was more terrifying to Saul than the entire Philistine army. The silence wasn't a punishment in itself. It was the consequence of Saul repeatedly pushing God away. He had treated God's voice like an option, something to be ignored when it was inconvenient. And now, when he desperately needed that voice, it was gone. Panic set in. And in his panic, Saul made his worst decision yet. He decided to find answers his own way, to go around God. He disguised himself and, under the cover of night, went to a place called Ender. Why? To find a medium, a witch. This was an act of extreme rebellion. God had explicitly forbidden this kind of dark magic. It was a complete rejection of faith, turning to the realm of the dead because he felt abandoned by the God of the living. He asked the medium to summon the spirit of the prophet Samuel, who had already died. And when a form appearing to be Samuel arose, it brought no comfort. It brought a message of doom. The spirit confirmed Saul's worst fears. God had left him and had given the kingdom to David, and it got worse. The Spirit foretold that the very next day Israel would be defeated and Saul and his sons would die in battle. This wasn't guidance. It was a death sentence. Saul got the answer he was looking for, but it wasn't the one he wanted. He had bypassed God to get a glimpse of the future, and the future was his own destruction. The next day, everything happened just as the Spirit had said. The battle was a disaster. Saul's sons were killed, and a wounded Saul, seeing no way out, took his own life on the battlefield. The king, who started with so much promise, died in disgrace, abandoned and alone. Saul's story is a chilling warning. It's not just about a king who messed up. It's about what happens when we consistently ignore God's voice. Don't turn to forbidden or unhealthy sources for answers. Instead, examine your heart. Is there any unconfessed sin? Is there an area where you know you've been disobedient? The Bible promises that if we draw near to God, He will draw near to us. Unlike Saul, our story doesn't have to end in silence and despair. Because of Jesus, we have a high priest who is always interceding for us. The line is always open. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the powerful stories of the Bible. See you next time.